What's going on, guys? Disco Warlock here, and welcome to part 2 of the Battlerite breakdown on Shifu. In this video, I will be going over loadouts and what Battlerite loadouts I choose. Alright guys, so by now you've probably watched the first video on Shifu, and have got an idea of what it's like to play him. Next, I want to elaborate on the loadouts that I choose when playing Shifu. First, I just want to take a look at the default loadout for new players out there who, don't quite understand it or want to just kind of master the champion's basics first. So, without further ado, let's take a look. Overall, we've got Swift Feet, Ceremonial Spear, Poised to Strike, Javelin Master, and Spear Dance. Out of all of these Battlerites, I would say Spear Dance and Javelin Master are the ones that you would probably swap on the fly depending on what opponents you're going up against. Swift Feet is great. It's one of the Battlerites that I personally run in my main loadout. The Fleet of Foot movement speed bonus is great in order if you've got to get out of there due to, let's say, an ultimate or a challenging ability. You're kind of caught in between a rock and a hard place. Well, you pop that and get your butt out of there as fast as you can. Or if you are in combat and you want that haste effect to keep going, once it fades from you, you get that extra 1.5 seconds of increased attack speed. Next up, Ceremonial Spear. It adds to our survival. This is great. It keeps the healing up and allows you to have a little bit more extra sustain along with the already built-in sustain that you have with your Energized Fleet of Foot or the Kunju ability if you successfully counter your opponent. And, who doesn't like a little bit of extra healing? Now, Poised to Strike, this is great. This allows you to deal 17 extra bonus damage with your Spear Slash after you've successfully countered. So, once you hit that counter, you appear behind them and you're slamming them. Plus your auto attack damage and that, you can successfully hit somebody for 30 plus damage, which is a ton considering champions only have around 200 health. Next up, we got ourselves Javelin Master. I would probably want to swap this one out. Yes, the bonus damage is nice, and the ranging being increased by 10% is also nice if you want to engage from that much further out, or don't have the distance kind of memorized, so you're just running in and skill shotting it away. It is kind of nice in that sense, but I would definitely swap this out for Dirty Tricks, which roots your opponent for 1.2 seconds. Now, along with Spear Dance, this is kind of one of those more situational, Battlerites that you'd pick if you feel that you'll be getting your ult off a lot and your opponent's got a lot of escapes. Other than that, the default loadout isn't that bad overall, and something that if you're just trying out Shifu for the first time, definitely just use it, get a feel for what it's like to play Shifu. Now, this next build, the Yoshino Lord of Spears, it is titled this because I played Bloodline Champions back when that was big thing, I guess way back in 2012, and I played the Spearmaster in that game, which is, as you guessed, Shifu in Battlerite. Now, I called him Yoshino because he did not have a name, and thus we have Yoshino, Lord of Spears. Now, the Battlerites that I choose for him, as you saw, like the default, I run Swift Feet for that movement speed, and I take the Spears the Way. Now, I take this one mainly because when I go immaterial, I want to be able to get any energy or the most energy out of the whole trade as I can. Typically, you're popping Fleet of Foot to get out of the way, right? You're using it to dodge skill shots, and you're basically popping a defensive cooldown. And I like to play it a little more aggressive, so I pop it and I get right in there hammering out attacks, unless I'm standing in an AoE ult or something like that, in which I will try to run out of the way. But typically, I like to build up as much more energy as I can, and that granted 8% bonus energy gets you to your ultimate that much faster. Next up, I run Dirty Tricks. As I had mentioned in the default loadout, this is the one that you want. This 1.2 second root is huge in Battlerite. 1.2 seconds feels like you're a whole minute. You get rooted for that and you're like, you're spamming your keyboard, trying everything you can to get out of there. And that's all there is to it. I mean, this is hands down one of the best Battlerites, and if I want to say a must-have for any Shifu players out there, you're going to want that root added to your CC. Next up, I run Mantra for even more healing on top of my Kunju ability. This will in total heal you for, I believe, around 30 health, which is quite a bit, provided your opponent does trigger your counter. And lastly, I run Impale bonus damage because I don't care if I have 1, 2, or 3 charges, I'm constantly trying to keep my impale on cooldown. Now, it's something that I've kind of had to train myself to do. I forgot, in some matches you'll see that I forget to use impale, and I have 3 charges up, and this deals a lot of damage. You're talking about almost 30 damage at full stacks. You're dealing 29, and that onto an opponent who only has 180 health, you've just chunked them down to basically 150, and from there on out you can keep wailing on them. Now, that is why I picked this loadout, and this is personally my favorite loadout. There are times that I do swap out abilities depending on the matchup I'm going up against, and in that case, the Spears Away is the one that I do swap out if I need to, or if I feel that I have a healer, I will potentially swap Mantra out for the Poise Strikes. Now, the Healing Path and Flying Spear. These 2 loadouts are just kind of for fun loadouts, they're nothing serious, so I'll just lightly glaze over them. As you can see, the Healing Path, I'm running mainly all healing. As you can see, it's to heal your ally and yourself for 14 health, along with being able to sustain yourself in combat for increased duration. This kind of build is something that I messed around when a friend was playing another DPS character and we didn't have any heals, and I thought, let's try being a paladin for a game, and let me tell you, it worked. Now, the one thing that kind of is odd about this build is this increased lunge distance, and I only picked up that in hopes that it would trigger this a lot more often because of the increased range, and sometimes you click the right button because it takes 3 seconds to cast, or 0.3 seconds to cast, sorry. They've inched away a little bit further, so getting that increased lunge distance is great because it closes that small gap and brings you back into melee range. Now, the last loadout I'll be talking about is the Flying Spear. This is, as you can imagine, all about mobility. In the name flying, mobility. Anyways, again, running the Mantra to have some sustain, the Spear Lunge for maximum mobility, Swift Feet for even more mobility. Gotta keep running dirty tricks. You gotta have that snare in there at some point. You could build a totally reckless Shifu build, but as long as you have dirty tricks in there, at least you're getting some sort of CC if you're not using your R enough. And lastly, the Spear Dance, because heck, everyone wants to spin super fast at 50% and whip around the map like a Beyblade, and that's exactly what this build does. All in all, this is just a quick overview of the loadouts that I run while Shifu, and the Lord of Spears is where it's at. Let me know what you guys thought about my loadout. Let me know what you guys are running. Let me know what maybe could be changed about it as well. Don't forget to like the video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to join the party. Thanks, guys.